Transfer season. As y'all know, it's time for players to get that hit that portal. And Sooners got themselves a nice pickup. So we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the latest commitment from the transfer portal in Dez Malone. We'll talk about a couple of Sooners that actually just announced they're hitting the draft yesterday in Andrew Rame as well as Tyler Guyton. And then, of course, Dillon Gabriel's headed to Oregon. So let's dive into all of that, break down kind of what it means. I think the bigger one, of course, will lead off with Dez Malone because adding to the secondary is something that was critical for Oklahoma in this cycle, especially with what's going on. So let's jump into that. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Let's dive into what's going on here, guys. Dez Malone, the 6'2", 200-pound corner, is headed to Norman. He announced it this morning. So this afternoon, we're going to jump into a little bit of film of his from 2022 that I was able to find. And yeah, let's get ourselves excited about an additional person to go onto this defense. And I'll explain to y'all also why it's important to have a player like him on this roster based upon the way our depth is looking. As y'all see here, Dez Malone, 6'2", 200-pound junior out of Fresno, California, playing at San Diego State out there at the crib. So he didn't really leave. He was a 3-star prospect when he came out about 4 years ago. And I'm going to be honest, when I got to watch a little bit of his film, a little bit of his play, when we initially started talking to him, I was like, okay, they're going after another dude that can lock down the side of the field. And that's really what Dez Malone does, right? He's one of those guys that teams do not throw the ball at. I went through all of his numbers. So this past season, you can see he had 34 solo tackles. He finished the season with 46 total tackles, a pick, a forced fumble, and he had a sack, which is pretty good. He came off the edge and got that bad boy in. But shout out to my guy, Stats by Popo. We pulled the numbers from Pro Football Focus and some of the details around him. There's a lot of greatness that we can potentially get out of this young man, right? So this past season, mention those numbers. He had about 692 total snaps on the defensive side of the ball. Roughly 600 of those came at 627 came at corner, with 402 snaps in coverage. In that time, this man only gave up 25 catches on 52 targets, whereas that's roughly about 48%. 286 total yards for the season. Not a game, for the season. So he's not targeted very often. Let's put it this way. Teams don't like throwing to his side of the ball. So you got to do it to keep the corners honest and keep the defense honest, because if you got a guy that can put themselves on an island, of course, team, you don't want to, you're going to take advantage of that. You don't want to throw it that direction, but in the collegiate ranks, you're going to need to throw there every once in a while to make sure to keep the defense honest so they're not stacking one side of the field. I mean, young players in college, it's not easy to shut down the side of the field, but man, it looks like he has a really good, he does well enough to make that happen. 48% completion percentage on the defense is what quarterbacks complete in passes his direction is absurd. Under 50%. So he doesn't let quarterbacks complete passes on him. He's broken up 7 passes and he's forced 7 incompletions. So 14 out of, the 27 incompletions were created in some capacity by him. Outside of forcing bad passes and things of that nature, yeah, he's on it. He's only given up 1 touchdown all season this year. So as a redshirt junior, he only gave up 1 touchdown all season long in a conference that throws the ball a lot, right? It's pretty good. QB rating at about 96%, which is under 100, which is also good. So basically what I'm telling you is we got ourselves a pretty solid stud that's going to be out there and can play day one, right? He learns a scheme. You put him in man-to-man situations, he's going to be able to ball out. And that's what Oklahoma needs, because the reason why you go after a player like Dez Malone is when you're losing a guy like Woody Washington, who was your veteran corner. Everybody under Woody was redshirt freshman and down, right? Redshirt freshman and freshman. We played a lot of young guys this year, from Gentry Williams to Josiah Wagner when he was healthy. Kanai Walker is your oldest guy. He was a redshirt sophomore. So he's your seasoned veteran, but he was dealing with injury issues this year. You still got Jacoby Johnson, Makari Vickers, who got hurt at the end of the year. And so, not to take anything away from those dudes, what you're doing is you're adding that veteran presence and someone to add depth just in case you deal with injury issues. Honestly, our secondary was beat up most of this year. That was probably one of our weaker factors, especially when we had to run a lot of zone. You're playing a lot of players who's got to do a lot of thinking, and zones can do that to you. And so bringing in a player that has that kind of experience, that many snaps, I mean, he has over 1,100 snaps in the last 2 seasons. So he's played a lot of football the last 2 years at the collegiate level. So he knows what to do. You know, San Diego State wasn't no slouch, not this past season before. They be balling. And so Malone just adds depth to a room that Jay Valai is trying to build into some monsters, right? And adding him with, I mean, heck, he could walk in and possibly be a day one starter because just his skill set. People don't like throwing his direction. Just like Woody. That was the one thing that was great about Woody Washington is nobody wanted to throw it to his side of the ball because he was that much of a threat. He's going to either break it up, and hell, Gentry showed you that he's going to get an interception instead, right? That's the crazy part is that they started to pick at Gentry, and Gentry started getting picks. And so it got to the point where teams was like, man, I don't know. We got to throw it across them. We've got to attack the linebackers and force the safeties up because we keep going to these corners, they probably going to cook us. They're going to knock that pass down. They're going to pick it off. Most likely going to pick it off. So there's a lot of fear you saw in quarterback play throwing around it. That's why there was a lot of over-the-middle passes and stuff, and a young linebacker corps was who they were going after. So bringing in Dez just keeps that continuity going, baby. Gets us a guy that's, like I said, a veteran presence that could go make it happen. And so watching him play, I was just like, oh, yeah. Valai made sense. And so when he got the offer and went back and looked at him, I'm like, yeah, I think I know why they went after him. He's somebody that can probably go out there and play today. So that's Mr. Malone. Hop in the comments. Let your boy know what's your thoughts. Got ourselves our veteran presence at the corner position that I love. We need to keep that going. And so let's jump into a couple of other things real quick. Andrew Rain, starting center, as well as starting tackle Tyler Guyton are both draft bound. And that was kind of expected, right? The big boys were expected to get in draft. We're expected to lose at least 4. We're losing 4 offensive linemen this year, starters. I mean, Savion Bird's going into the portal. Nate Anderson also hit the portal. But you got Andrew Rain, Tyler Guyton, as well as Walter Rouse, who Walter Rouse is out of eligibility, all leaving the line. So you got 4 guys that were starters at some capacity this season that are out. And, granted, we understood that. We knew that was going to happen. But the good thing is we've got replacements, right? You got Caden Green, who can move from guard to tackle. He's very versatile. You got Jacob Sexton, who came off that injury from Florida State. He was a freshman in the bowl game, got hurt, coming off that injury. He's looking like he's getting back to his old self. So your left side of the field, you've got most likely Jacob as well as Caden Green at the center spot. You either got Joshua Bates or Troy Everett, and Everett's the more veteran, so he may actually get the run at the center position, but Bates may walk in and take it. Then you got Spencer Brown out there at the right tackle. Right guard still a little bit open, but we've got options, right? We've got options on players that's going to be doing some stuff. So I'm pretty excited to see where we go from here, but the vets had to go, right? They had to go do their thing. And then, of course, lastly, Dillon Gabriel has hit the portal, and he is a duck. We shot a message out yesterday. It happened while I was in these streets, and I just didn't want to make a video last night, so I decided to close it out with that. Dillon Gabriel, Oregon Duck, show him some love. We're excited to see him do some big things. Wrap this bad boy up. Hop in the comments. Let your boy know your thoughts. How y'all feeling about these changes we're seeing here in the world of Oklahoma? If you made it this far, you like the content, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for y'all to join this family of college football fans. We talk a lot of OU football and college football in general and have a blast doing it. So, YouTube says check out one of these videos. I highly recommend it. Made it for you around the portal, and we will chop it up a few hours. Peace.